In the heart of the United States, a sprawling city known for its glimmering skyscrapers and booming economy, a quiet war was being waged in the shadows. The city was controlled by a secretive and powerful syndicate known as the Syndicate, a conglomerate of corrupt politicians, ruthless businessmen, and cold-hearted criminals. They ruled the streets, pulling the strings behind the scenes, while the everyday citizen carried on with their lives, unaware of the chaos bubbling just beneath the surface. But there was one thing they didn't count on: heroes. Not the caped crusaders of comic books, but real, ordinary people who had had enough. These heroes weren't born with extraordinary powers or wealth. They were the forgotten and overlooked, the kind of people society tends to ignore. But together, they were a force that couldn't be stopped. The heroes Rachel Red Lopez, a former military medic, who had seen too much corruption in the ranks. She was skilled in combat medicine and had a personal vendetta against the injustice that ran rampant in her country. Marcus Iron Hayes, a tech genius with a mysterious past. Once a brilliant hacker for the government, he'd turned against the system after witnessing the horrors it had inflicted on the innocent Jade Viper Nguyen, an underground fighter with a deadly grip and a sharp mind. She had been forced into the underworld but was driven by a code of honor. Trey Shark Johnson, a former Special Forces operator who had lost everything in a covert operation gone wrong. He was now a ghost in the city, hunting those who preyed on the vulnerable. Their paths crossed when an unexpected attack on a local protest turned into a massacre, leaving innocent people dead at the hands of private military contractors hired by the syndicate. This was the breaking point for Rachel and the others. They could no longer sit by and watch as the syndicate continued to crush the spirit of the nation. They began to plan the fight at first. It was small. They hacked into the syndicate's databases, exposing their ties to elected officials and dirty deals. Rachel infiltrated hospitals, treating people with injuries that the police wouldn't investigate. Jade organized underground fights where the syndicate's thugs lost every time. Trey began hunting down syndicate members, one by one, making them pay for their cruelty. And Marcus? He became the unseen force behind the scenes, creating a network of informants, taking down surveillance systems, and disrupting their operations. But things escalated when the syndicate made the fatal mistake of targeting them. They underestimated the group, believing they could simply crush the resistance with a few well-placed assassins and hired guns. Turning point one night, the syndicate decided to make an example of Rachel. They abducted her family, threatening to kill them if she didn't back down. They thought she would break. They were wrong. Rachel didn't hesitate. Using her military training, she left them a message. When they opened the door to her family's cage, they were greeted by a carefully planted explosive, just a warning. The syndicate had pushed the wrong button. Rachel, Marcus, Jade, and Trey launched a coordinated attack. They began to dismantle the syndicate from the inside out, hacking their financial systems, exposing their criminal network to the public, and gathering enough evidence to implicate high-ranking officials. But they didn't stop there. Each hero used their unique skills to take the fight directly to the syndicate's leaders. Jade's underground fighting matches became a battleground for the top members of the organization, where she publicly humiliated their enforcers. Trey took down the syndicate's private army, slowly eliminating their muscle, one vicious strike at a time. By the time the syndicate realized they were losing control, it was too late. They had underestimated the power of those who had nothing left to lose but everything to fight for. The heroes didn't just fight for revenge. They fought for the soul of their country, for justice, and for the millions who had been silenced in the end. The syndicate was no more. Their leaders were exposed, arrested, and sentenced to life in prison. The corrupt government officials were forced to resign, and a wave of public outrage demanded change. The city was no longer under their shadow, and the people, now emboldened by the actions of those they had once overlooked, began to rebuild together. But Rachel, Marcus, Jade, and Trey, they disappeared into the night, knowing the fight would never be over. They were just a few of many, and they had made it clear if you mess with the wrong heroes, you pay the price.